This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties the story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, D2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Yes, this is Gary Clement from the Gary Clement Radio Show and podcast, and today we are blessed to have Mr. Jim Nesbit. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks, Gary.
Very good. So first of all, just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're doing in regards to building on the voting process here in North Carolina.
Well, Gary, who I am is a retired educator. I was a kindergarten teacher and a principal, and I've been very active in social causes all my life and believe that we can only make change and talk about change if we are working for change. Mm-hmm. And so I've always believed that very strongly in public schools and the political process that we all should be involved in. And I think if you care about our country and you care about our schools and you care about our children, you need to be out there fighting for them. So being a lifelong educator, and I started as a kindergarten teacher and then became a principal, I still try to fight now with politics because I'm a retired teacher for our children by making sure that we have the right people in the right places, and starting with our local school board all the way up to the presidency. So I worked and I've been an activist knocking on doors for people I believe in, starting with Gore in Florida in 2000, and I've been active with every progressive Democrat since then.
I see. Okay. And you're located in what part of North Carolina again, please?
Wilmington, North Carolina, on our beautiful coast.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So I understand also that you're a part of the Democratic Party there. How long have you been part of that process there? And, what have been some of your contributions, I guess, to the Democrats in that area?
Well, I've been involved in the Democratic Party ever since I could vote. And so when I came to Wilmington, I became a precinct chair. And so I work in my precinct to get people educated and knowledgeable and talking about voting and encouraging them to vote.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. Right now, this country is in turmoil. We actually have a situation where President Biden, a lot of people consider him to be older than the norm or whatnot as being a president. And then we have the adversary, Trump on the other side, and there are many problems there. What are you hearing out in the streets in regards to how this presidential thing is coming together? What are your thoughts there?
Well, with all the turmoil with both parties on the presidential side, people wanting Biden to step down and Trump wanting to, as far as I can see, become a dictator and have everyone bow down to him. I think he'd like to be known as King Donald, but I hope that doesn't happen. So I don't think we can do much on the national level as determining who's going to be our presidential candidates. Well, I guess Trump is in, and people are trying to still figure out if we're going to have Biden or not. But I don't think it really matters locally. I think what's important locally is that you inform yourself on all the local politics, and you work toward and with the people you feel that can make a difference on the local level. But my hope is that people who vote in Wilmington vote the Democratic ticket, the whole ticket from top to bottom, no matter who ends up being our presidential candidate. Because I think the alternatives that the Republicans are trying to sell us are a school board run by the very conservatives that want to ban books and want to tell teachers what they can and can't teach. And I think that's a program for disaster for schools. Mm-hmm. I don't think that our public schools can survive if we allow the Republicans to take over our school boards and to take over our General Assembly. And I think it's very important that we work very hard to make sure that Democrats win in the state up and down the ballot.
Right. I see. From historic value, I've seen that it appears actually to me that the state of North Carolina, like you said, when it comes to the national political thing, it appears that no matter how many Democrats and stuff we have voting, it appears that the Republicans end up winning our state every presidential election. I'm like, how does that happen? Explain it to us, please.
Well, Gary, I think you're knowledgeable enough to know that we're handicapped by the Republicans restricting our voting districts with gerrymandering, and they're attempting to put restrictions on voting for especially minorities with their voter ID, and trying to eliminate or our mail-in voting, and also to limit how many days we have for early voting. And I think the Republican General Assembly is basically trying to keep themselves in power by keeping voting blocks from being encouraged to vote or making it difficult for them to vote. So I think it's all the more reason why we have to help every Democrat eliminate the blocks that they put in front of us, or help them with the restrictions, get around the restrictions that the Republicans are trying to put in place. But I think if all the Democrats come out and vote, no matter where they are, we can take over the General Assembly and take care of some of the problems that the current General Assembly is causing for voters.
I see. Right. You mentioned gerrymandering, and I remember back here some time ago, there was another thing too about redistricting and trying to draw lines and stuff so that, certain people or a lot of the same people would be considered part of one area. Then the areas with less black and brown people, you would have a ton of those where they would all have their own representatives. Would that be one of the reasons how the General Assembly, I guess, or the Republicans are able to take over the state, I guess you could say?
Well, absolutely, Jerry. Gary, that is exactly what gerrymandering is. So they want to make the districts as much as possible, have all the minorities in one or two districts, and then have a majority Republicans in all the other districts, so that they can have a majority of in the legislature just by gerrymandering. So if you take all the Democrats and put them in one district, and then they can elect that district, but then all the other ones they make Republican districts, and So it gives a disproportionate number of House General Assembly seats to both in the Senate and also in the House, a disproportionate number of them being Republican. But I think if every Democrat would come out and vote, we could fix that by, when we take over the General Assembly, remove all the roadblocks that the Republicans have put in place to voters.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Okay. Back on the national end of things, a lot of people are, like you said, with President Biden, they're looking at his health or whatnot as an obstacle. They are looking at his age as an obstacle. I guess my next question is, of course, I'm Democrat. I'm going to vote for, whoever the Democratic person is to be the president. But when it comes down to the vice president, would you say that our country is ready or whatnot for a female to be president, Afro American female at that? Are we ready for that?
Gary, that's a tough, really tough read. I'm ready for it, but I don't know if the majority of the country is ready for it. We still, with just the tenor of the country, under, I think, the fact that our southern states and North Carolina is trying to gerrymander or keep minorities from voting, I think they're afraid of having minorities in power. But thank goodness, a lot of places are still voting for the best person, and I think no matter who's on the top of the ticket, I think we're ready for a female. But are we ready for a black female? I'm not sure. I would hope that we would be. But, I think if we happen to have Camilla on the top of the ticket, I will do my best to get her elected. And I think maybe it would bring out more minorities and solve more of our problems if more of them voted. So do we have enough to win with her? It's going to be a hard road, but I think we could do it if we all pull together and work for her.
Right, absolutely, right. Okay, there's also a video floating around about Project 2025, something released by the Heritage Foundation. That project actually says that it's designed or whatnot for policy issues for the Republican Party to rule America. What are your feelings about that? It's scary to me. What are your feelings about that?
I think it's a roadmap to hell. 2025, I think you can say it equals 1648 before the segregationists states pulled out of our country, and I think the 2025 roadmap is just a strengthening of the authoritarian presidency that they want to have, and they want to put further restrictions on women. They want to put further restrictions on voting, and I think it's against the whole 2025 plan is to strengthen Trump and to lead us down a road to hell. That's my opinion.
Right, absolutely. Because it says a white male-dominated government, fascism, where Trump has all power, absolute power.
Yep.
And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. It goes against the Constitution. There's so many different things, like I said, that it relates to that I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention to.
I don't think so either, Gary, but we got to wake them up and make sure they pay attention. And we really got to educate all our voters as to what would happen if Trump got elected, and how disastrous that would be for poor people, for low-income people, because all he would do is give more tax breaks to his rich friends, and the middle class would suffer. We would suffer. Everyone would suffer except for his top 10% that support him.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so Trump was found guilty on 34 different felonies. Okay, as a Afro American, actually, just as a man, period, being part of the American society, um, if you get a felony, your life becomes a different road to take or whatnot. How is it, and I'm still trying to figure out how is it that Trump is able to get a lot of these things against him dismissed and still run for president of the United States when the Constitution speaks against it? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, he and his attorneys and his party have, delayed everything such that they're hoping that he'll get elected so he can get rid of all those counts against him.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, he can pardon himself. So I think that's all the more reason why he can't win, because he should, as far as I'm concerned, face the music for all the misdeeds that he's done. I mean, he's bankrupt so many companies. He, his university failed. His airline failed, and to me, just one big failure after another. I think he is a con man, and he has conned so many people, and right now he's conning all the MAGA voters, thinking that they should elect him because he's a great man. Well, if they just do an assessment of his life and all the failures that he's had, they're just choosing him to have another failure with our country, and I don't think our country can risk of a failure with Donald Trump.
Right, absolutely, right. And I think another part of that too is the Supreme Court allowing Clarence Thomas to do all these different things. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think we're suffering on the Supreme Court from the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers started a plan 40 years ago to take over law schools and so many judicial offices around the country, and they targeted the Supreme Court. And then they used the Republican Party and Mitch McConnell to delay Obama's choices, and then wait until the Republicans came back in power and then support their party. Trump named 3 people that have changed the balance of the Supreme Court, and they're all sycophants to Roberts and Thomas, and nobody wants to go against them. But it all started with the Koch brothers 40 years ago with their plan to take over the Supreme Court. So it's another reason why we got to take back control of Congress and the Supreme Court. And if we have to take the power back by putting more Democrats on the Supreme Court, then let's do it.
Right, I see. Okay, and I won't go too much longer with this, but in your area, what can you do better or whatnot there in Wilmington to kind of, like you say, recruit, more people to come out and vote? What are your thoughts and stuff about, bettering your process there for, getting new voters and getting people more involved or whatnot in your area?
Well, I'm optimistic about New Hanover County, which is where Wilmington is, because we just voted in a majority of Democrats to the city council. Now we have a chance to put 3 new school board members in, and 2 more county commission people in to go along with our current commissioner, Jonathan Barfield, who's a minority, who's up for re-election. So I think we have a chance of balancing out our county commission and rebalancing our school board.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Any last thoughts? Any last words that you would like to have to say to people listening to this, broadcast?
I think that the only Gary, I thank you for this interview, and I think the work that you're doing to encourage minorities to vote and minorities to take power. I think the more they realize that they have power by voting and changing the balance in our legislature and our local politics, I think every person that cares about children and that cares about schools should come out and vote, so that we don't have the Republicans banning our books and telling us what we can read and what we can't read. So it's very, very important that every local school board is dominated by people who aren't trying to limit our education and limit our thinking.
We really do appreciate our guest who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities who speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, presents@yahoo.com. So until next time.